Every October since 2011, Retro Movie Geek has brought you the spooky side of retro movies. And this year is no different. But remember, we spoiled the hell out of every movie we cover. So consider yourself forewarned. Spooky Flix Fest starts now.
Welcome to a special episode of Father and Son Watch Horror Movies here on Retro Movie Geek's Spooky Flix Fest 2025. I am your host, the Father, aka Pastor Matt, and I am joined as always by my trusty sidekick,
Jackson the Son, and thank you for tuning in to Spooky Flix Fest. Ha ha, ha ha ha, ha ha.
Well, the mission that we accepted from the Gill Man this year was to review the 1986 Charles Band production, TerrorVision. And check out this IMDb synopsis. This is kind of a new one. TerrorVision is a 1986 horror science fiction movie telling the tale of when a family's new satellite television system starts receiving signals from another planet, and soon it becomes the passageway to an alien world. That's in the ballpark, but that's not really correct.
Right.
Really, this is the tale about the journey of Hungry Beast, i.e. man-eating space garbage pet, shot from a sanitation department on the planet Pluton to a hick dysfunctional family's cheap satellite dish. Google what a satellite dish is, young ones. And who begins to both woo them and wolf them down. Is that fair enough?
That is very accurate. And by the way, it's so funny that, you know, I watched the trailer for this after watching the movie. The trailer of this pitches it as like, oh, he's their new pet, and he's a little quirky and can get a little violent sometimes, but they still love him. That is not what this film is at all.
That's not what this film is.
Interesting angle they tried to take. They're trying to go for like the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids market, when really this is like body, like gross out, you know, disgusting weirdo horror. Well, I say horror. It's mostly a comedy. But this might be the most Empire movie of all time, because we have not one, not two, but three band men working on this film.
There's, right.
Like you said, Charles Band.
Charles, Richard, Albert.
And his dad, Albert. So despite this being a Ted Nicolaou film, it's really a band family movie through and through.
Yeah. And of course, Empire would fold and he would open Full Moon, right? Which is what we have now.
Yeah.
And still producing the same kind of stuff. But so I take it, was this the first time you've seen TerrorVision?
It was, yeah. So the thing is, this year, I only had seen one film on the list of films for Spooky Flix Fest, which was Videodrome. And I have talked about Videodrome to death. So I was like, let's go for something different. And I was like, what have you seen from this list? And you were like, oh, I've seen TerrorVision. And I was like, yes, that sounds awesome. TerrorVision, let's do that. I had no idea what I was getting into. This is like almost Troma levels. It's like a little bit more competently made than a Troma film, but it's got that same like goofball, these aren't real people, watch them die kind of attitude that a Troma movie has.
Yeah.
And I loved this thing.
Oh, good. I was going to get to that here in a second, because I believe it or not, because this came out in 1986. The video box for this was ubiquitous in video stores in the 80s. Mm-hmm. From like 87 on, anytime you went to the horror section, there was TerrorVision. I saw it all the time. But I actually did not get around to seeing this until, according to Letterboxd, 2019.
Wow.
When I was going through the movies of 1986. And I saw it pop up on so many lists. I never really wanted to see it. It just didn't sound interesting. But then I watched it on YouTube, which is that where you watched it?
Yes. Yeah, I was going to get to that. I was going to recommend a rental, but you know, it's free.
It's on YouTube.
So,
couple copies on YouTube.
If you don't mind a weirdo watermark on it, if you don't mind that, then absolutely just watch it on YouTube.
And so I finally got around to watching it. I'll just go ahead and say this is great garbage, poor pun intended. Right?
You know, you talked about the poster, and it is a great poster. It's sort of like how Friday the 13th was pitched on the title alone. This is a film that was 100% pitched on the poster.
Yeah, it will not shock you that the poster came before the script. That's true.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I can guarantee that. Because it's like, you know how Corman would make rip-offs of new movies coming out based on the trailer alone?
Oh, yeah.
He would be like, oh, there's this new space movie coming out. I'll make one. You know, this feels like the Band Brothers version of that, except this is like an interpolation of Videodrome based only on the poster for that film. So they're like, a TV, what can we do with that? Okay, I've got it, TerrorVision. Like, I can so imagine this being a Corman production and Roger Corman going, make a movie where the television is scary and reuse as many spaceship shots as possible. Because that's kind of what this feels like. It feels like it was in response to something, but I'm not really sure what exactly it was in response to, because Videodrome was 3 years earlier. So this is kind of late to the punch if it's trying to do that. I'm really not sure what niche this fits in.
No idea, but I'm not a Charles Band aficionado. I've seen several of Band productions, both Empire and Full Moon, but it takes me a little while to warm up to the idea of watching one. You know what I mean? It's like,
sure, yeah.
You know, I can save up and I can go ahead and pre-order the Blu-ray of Weapons and put 2 hours aside when it gets here, or I can spend my time watching a Charles Band production. It's like, you know, but what did impress me, and a number of things impressed me about this, other than I think it's just fun.
Yeah.
The cast of this movie
is
absolutely insane. So first of all, Diane Franklin as Susie, who I'm sure you recognized.
Yeah, from Better Off Dead, of course.
Of course. I knew, because I know how much you love Better Off Dead. The French exchange student from Better Off Dead.
Yeah, and she's playing the Valley Girl in this film, who's kind of a character and kind of just an impression. Yeah, she's fantastic. Great to see her. Also great to see John Gries as OD.
Yeah, I want to get to her, but I want to note that Diane Franklin, if you don't know who we're talking about, if you're a youngin', because Jackson's young, but he's got an old soul and he loves Better Off Dead. But she was also the princess and from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
That's right.
She was in the incredibly mistitled, because it's depressing, Last American Virgin. And for horror fans, she was in Amityville 2.
There you go. Only the best.
Only the best. But I loved her in Better Off Dead. She's fun here, and she's absolutely great. And then you wanted to bring up, did you say Uncle Rico?
That's right. Yeah, look how far I can throw this football. Yeah, he's OD, Diane Franklin's boyfriend, metalhead, kind of doing that Bill and Ted voice, who I have to say, love John Gries. He's terrible in this film, but I still love him.
Oh, I think he's just doing what they wanted him to. I think he's going with the flow with what everybody else is doing.
That's
but
fair.
People will know him. Obviously, as Uncle Rico is probably his most famous role, but I loved him as Laszlo in Real Genius with Val Kilmer. He's great in that. And he's, of course, the werewolf in both The Monster Squad and Fright Night Part 2.
That's right, yeah. They saw his face and they're like, this guy, he's going to be a werewolf for a while. This is his new typecast.
Now, do you know where Jonathan Gries is from, if you had to guess?
I don't know. Maybe Midwest.
Okay, I think that's what most people would assume, like Missouri, or maybe he's from Nebraska or something like that. You know, he's got that kind of look of a guy who's, you know, he spent some time in partying in cornfields and playing high school football and all that kind of stuff. No, he's a Hollywood kid. His dad was a producer director. He's from Glendale.
Huh.
Yeah, he grew up in Hollywood. His first role was when he was like 9 years old in the Charlton Heston Western, Will Penny. How's that?
That is awesome. And I would have never known that he was a Nepo baby. Start the hashtag right now, John Gries a Nepo baby.
Yeah.
But I think that it works to his favor that he seems like more of a, you know, middle America everyman. I think that's what's endearing about him and why he fits in so well in Napoleon Dynamite. But he is leaning into that SoCal, kind of vibe in this film.
Yeah.
Sort of. I mean, he's like, it's that impression of that SoCal surfer metal dude it's barely hanging in there. I mean, at points it kind of feels like he's like, am I supposed to be on right now or what?
Yeah, I love him and everything. And God bless the guy. The guy has just worked consistently for decades.
Yeah.
You go look up his IMDb, man. There's not a year where he's not doing something. TV, movie, the guy is constantly out there. He's a working actor, and God bless him and keep him. But there's also Garrett Graham as Mr. Putterman, one half of the worst parents perhaps in any movie ever, who horror fans will know from Phantom of the Paradise, and as the foster dad in Child's Play 2. But also underrated comedy Used Cars from 1980 with Kurt Russell. He's great in that. And he's certainly going overboard here.
I think you can say that about just about
everybody. Yeah. And I will even say that even though the actress who plays Cherry, she played that in everything. These actors, all of them were absolutely everywhere in like the 80s, especially in like making guest appearances in like episodic TV, like A-Team, Miami Vice, Different Strokes, all that kind of stuff. They were in and out of that. Like Burt Remsen as Gramps. I was going to put some his credits down, but there are too many credits. That guy worked like absolutely consistently from 1959 to his death in 1999.
Yeah, he strikes me as a kind of Dick Miller sort of guy, where he's everywhere. He's that guy, he's that guy.
And instead of being Joe Dante's Dick Miller, he was Robert Altman's guy. He was in a lot of Robert Altman movies, McCabe and Mrs. Miller, Nashville, all these. Robert Altman loved him. And believe it or not, if this is the only thing you've seen him in, yes, he can reel it back.
Well, I mean,
he's also definitely going with the flow.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm sure that's, we've seen other Charles Band film. And again, this is a Ted Nicolaou film, but really, let's be honest, it's a Charles Band film. But that's kind of how it goes. It's like point and shoot. You're this type of guy. Now let's do the scene. I can guarantee you there's not a lot of what's my motivation here for TerrorVision.
No, I think he got the vibe right early on, which by the way, this was shot in Rome.
Huh.
And they shot it on the same soundstage that they had just finished shooting Troll with Julie Louis-Dreyfus.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So it's like, the thing about this film is the setting is kind of unplaceable in a very strange, like you mentioned it's shot on a soundstage, but it feels like we're on an alien planet, even though we're on Earth, assumably for the majority of the thing. It feels like this is taking place on some weird like Venetian colony because everything in this house is so gaudy. The sky looks so fake. It feels like this like hyper real place a place where, you tell your kids, oh, we're swinging tonight. And then you come home with the swingers and the swinger the kid walks up and the swingers go, oh, will he be joining us? So it's just this like really.
I tell you, man, it was, and let me say real quick also, Mary Woronov as Mrs. Putterman, the other half of this. We'll get into that. And so I want to talk about the parents.
Yeah.
She has so many B movie credits, too many to list. I mean, she was also apparently a Joe Dante favorite because she was in Hollywood Boulevard and Rock and Roll High School which Joe Dante co-directed both of those. But this is for Joel. If Joel's listening to this to put his final edits on, she was in Night of the Comet.
There you go.
So, and Ted, how do you pronounce it? Nicolaou, you think? Is that how you pronounce it? Or
I'm not sure, but that's how it looks to me.
Okay, this guy, he's done a lot of B movie stuff. I mean, the guy is, last time I checked, still working, directing B movies and kind of like the Subspecies, Bloodstone type movies. But he you know how he got his start?
Mm-mm.
He was a PA, back then they just called him a gopher, a PA on the set of 1974's Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Wow. Here's the thing that I'm learning as I look through these credits. There's some serious clout here for this film. It's so strange how all these people ended up here because one thing this is not a judgment call at all, but I will say for a film that's only 85 minutes long, the edit does find ways to be boring at points, like lingering on shots a second before the director yells action and a second after the and cut moment.
The whole thing where they're trying to like feed hungry beast and stuff, that feels like filler. And
sure,
that kind of went on. I do want to say this, then we'll get into the parents. The director apparently spent time at swingers parties in LA to study for this film.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
At least that's what he told. That's what he told his partner, anyway.
Yeah. I've got a homework tonight. I've got to. Yeah.
I got to do some in-depth study for Terror. What did he learn?
Right. It's like, would you say that this is like the perfect, you'll never need to see another film about swingers again because TerrorVision does it perfectly. What did he learn from his hands-on experience that he applied to this film?
I have
Because it kind of just seems like the actors are doing exactly what you would imagine an actor would do when they're told, you're a swinger couple.
Yeah, back when they did classifieds in Lord knows what publication, long before Craigslist or anything like that came along. But these parents, let's talk about these parents. Let's talk about the home decor, shall we?
Yes, please.
What? Where is children's services?
Yeah. So here's the thing about this. It's like we can get into their weird sex dungeon, but first I just want to talk about like
it's not a dungeon, it's the pleasure dome.
Sure. Yes. Sorry.
The biggest jacuzzi I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Here's the thing. The house is huge and completely impossible architecturally. It's like a Resident Evil level. You know how in Resident Evil it's like there's a police station and then there's a laboratory under it and like this giant, you know what I mean? That's what this feels like. It's the cheap set design somehow manages to like be pretty immersive. It feels like such a unique vision no matter what you think of it. It's like The Dark Backward or something. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Yeah. This weird, slimy, surreal, like kind of immersive.
Well, they have this palatial, pervy place with, with a teenage kid, a young kid, and a grandfather with his own panic room in the hallway.
Yeah.
And they've got all that. But like you look around at the paintings on the wall, which are all like something like the first panel of something I would imagine would be like a cartoon in like a 80s porno mag or something. And so they've got all that, like some kind of XXX, bubblegum thing, and it's like, where did they get those paintings? It's like, I'm just imagine that like the set director walked in, to some poor starving artist, starving probably for a good reason in Italy. And he had like 30 of these and she's like, how much? And he's like, how much you got? He goes, I give you $25 for all of them. And he's like, I did it. And they just threw them all up on the wall. And that was it. So I was like, nobody painted these for this movie. Tell me nobody did that. They did not commission somebody to do this, right? They had to just find this.
Here's the thing about it. It's like, you have those like graphic, like sexual murals on the wall, but like, who is this movie for? It kind of begs the question, who is this movie for? Because it's rated R, right? It's an R-rated film. It's got like swingers and those murals
with no
on the
nudity
wall.
And no sexual content other than what's on the wall.
Right. But there's one of the main characters is a kid, like Home Alone style, and there's like wacky hijinks and like over the top like comic like cartoon characters. So this feels like a whimsical PG like like a not a Goonies, but maybe the Explorers, something like that. It kind of feels like it's almost trying to go for that vibe, like a Bill and Ted or the Explorers or whatever. But then again, you have the whole swingers side plot and then the pleasure dome and Grandpa disintegrates into a disgusting slime puddle. And it's like, who is this movie for? I don't understand what the target audience is. And again, the trailer was like, this wacky comedy. So it's like, I really don't understand how this was pitched.
If this family existed, okay, let's go back to that. First of all, if this was not a banned production,
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine taking this into Paramount?
No.
I mean, here's the deal. We got two swinging parents. We've got the anti-communist, survivalist grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a little kid, and this is 86. And we've got the teenager who's really into metal.
Yeah.
We've covered every demographic. Sex, anti-communism, metal. It's what the kids want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, because, that is a classic band move, right? To make this weird thing that kind of feels like a kid's movie, but then you just throw in a bunch of gore and occasional nudity, like Puppet Master. You know what I mean? It's like, Puppet Master seems like it would be a fun Gremlins, style thing where, Gremlins is dark, but the kids can still watch it. But then you've got, in Puppet Master, you've got like that weird like psychic couple that are like really into like kinky sex, and then they think that the leech lady puppet is the other person, and that it's like, who are you making this for, Charles Band?
I have no idea. I would love to, there's got to be a therapist somewhere who owns like a beach house thanks to Charles Band. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's there has to be. And it's so bizarre. Yeah, I can't imagine if this wasn't banned. I'm pretty sure that Corman would even have said, no, thank you. This is, Corman, like Galaxy of Terror was like, well, Star Wars is hot. Alien is hot. Give me something in between. So he gives them Galaxy of Terror. Oh, love the title. Go shoot it. That's fine.
Yeah.
What was, but Videodrome was a cult classic.
Right.
I'm not sure what this is, and it somehow works for me. I think it's fun. Like I said, there are a couple places, even at hour and 25 minutes, where it drags. But overall, I think it's fun. But this is a bizarre film. I mean, and it reminds me that, though, let's face it, there was a lot of cocaine in Hollywood between 1966 and 1986. So, it's like Gilbert Gottfried's old joke. It was like, if it wasn't for drugs, explain to me how Hogan's Heroes ever got made.
Right.
It's like, I got this idea about, it's set in a Nazi prison camp. It's a comedy.
Yeah. I mean, I always think of the old Dave Chappelle adage, or I guess it's Rick James, really. Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Yes, exactly.
And that's, that's kind of the thing that Empire and Full Moon lives by. But like you talked about Corman. Again, it does seem like it's doing the classic Corman move of stretching every scene to make it, barely feature length at 85 minutes. But it does have really good bits in it, I thought. Like, there are some really funny, genuinely funny, like intentionally funny exchanges. Like, we have the Elvira knockoff, Medusa, who calls her viewers perverts.
Yes.
That's hilarious. That she just, you perverts, here's an ad. That's a really good bit. But it is undercut a little bit by the grandpa going, wow, huge cans, and then Medusa is a major player in the third act of this film. I was about to say climax, but I averted my, I kind of swerved at the last second. In the third act of this film, Medusa is a major player, leading to, I think, no spoilers, a pretty fun gag at the end.
Well, we can spoil it. This is Retro Movie Geek. As Joel says, we spoil the heck out of everything. And so the whole thing is, so this is the other thing. So you've got this apparently fairly wealthy swinging couple with kids, and their swinging goes sideways, by the way, because they find out that the couple that they think that they're going to hook up with are not attracted to the sex that they think they're attracted to. And there's some language that gay people will find rather offensive.
Sure.
From Mr. Butterman. But so that whole thing goes sideways, but basically it's centered around, despite the fact that they have this huge house with their indoor, jacuzzi the size of basically like an above ground outdoor pool, or if not bigger, and they've got all that. He will not spring for like a real satellite dish.
Right.
He's got to do this do-it-yourself satellite dish thing, and with the repairman, a salesman repairman who won't help him do anything with it. Who, if you don't recognize him, he was the nasty customer in Fast Times at Ridgemont High who gets Judge Reinhold fired. Yeah, that's him. Who complains that his breakfast was cold. So that was him. And so, but they get hit with this accidental shot of a sanitation department from the planet Pluton, goes through the satellite dish. And so now you've got Hungry Beast, as Ted Nicolaou called him, who is apparently part garbage, part pet, part whatever, and part garbage can, whatever it is. And he's, he goes through the TV and is somehow able to duplicate, clone people and all this. There are no rules here. There are absolutely no rules.
Yeah.
And can barely speak English, but can speak through Medusa on the TV, and perfectly to the kid and all this. None of this makes any sense. So there are no rules. It's all out the window. By the way, did you notice Wasp makes a cameo? The band Wasp.
No.
Yeah.
Doing the music?
Yeah. Well, no. When Mr. Putterman first puts the satellite dish, which doesn't work until Hungry Beast hits it, and for some reason that makes the satellite dish work. And Diane Franklin, Susie, asks for MTV, and he flips it around with a remote control that has a spinning satellite dish on it. Never seen that before. And spins it around, gets to MTV, and the clip is of Wasp, and I loved Wasp in the 80s, playing Tormentor. And that clip is from another Ted Nicolaou movie called Dungeon Master from the year before, in which Wasp had a major role, and Blackie Lawless actually is in it. So that's where that
of course
comes from, and that explains why Jonathan OD is wearing a Wasp t-shirt.
Oh yeah, there's nothing more Empire than reusing your Wasp footage from one movie to another. That's so classic. And yeah, I remember now Diane Franklin is like, I love this song, and then like
does the worst headbang I've ever seen in my entire life. Yeah, she's dressed like some kind of missing person / Madonna kind of thing, but she's into metal.
She looks like Strawberry Switchblade, but she's like really into Wasp. That is a strange. I guess that existed. That
not many. There were not many chicks in 84, 85, 86. Forgive my language saying chicks, but I am from the 80s. I'm old. And there were not that many who were into Wasp. You know what I mean? By 86, they were all walking around with John Bon Jovi, on their front, because they were all in love with John Bon Jovi. But so they won't spring for the real satellite dish. Hungry Beast gets there. He's zapping in all the TV, and every room in this house has a TV and a stereo and you name it. They've got everything except for a good satellite dish in this house, right? They got everything going on. And then Hungry Beast shows up and, eats the repairman salesman and eats the cop and all kinds of stuff. But you said they're watching Grandpa and the son decide that why the mom and dad go off to swing to meet their swinging partners, and Susie goes off with OD to go do whatever. They're going to sit and watch Medusa's Horathon till midnight, right? And that's what they're going to do. And she's showing the worst horror movies that have ever been shown in the history of man. They don't even do the Halloween thing and just go ahead and show other things like Night of the Living Dead, which is, by the way, not copyrighted. They could have, right? And so they've got the lizard thing, which I know ties in with Grandpa's obsession with lizard tail jerky, which, have you ever had lizard tail jerky, Jackson?
I've never had lizard tail jerky, but I hear that it grows right back off the lizard and tastes great.
So they're doing all this. And so then Hungry Beast goes and basically starts to eat everybody. But then their savior shows up, right? Yeah. The planet Pluton sends their, because this is what you want to hear, their chief sanitation officer.
Right.
To come and destroy Hungry Beast. And Medusa shows up, and what does Medusa do?
She assumes that he is the Hungry Beast, that he is the creature that she was informed about, and murks him just straight up. Yeah. So it's kind of a fun third act subversion, right? You have your hero just get gunned down immediately. There's something cool there, right? Like there's some kind of cool idea. Like it's kind of like Critters, how the cop aliens are sent to Earth, and they're like shape shifting and they're hunting the critters. There's some kind of cool, and then Ted Nicolaou is just like, no, screw that. We don't have the time for that. He's just killed, and then we got to wrap everything up. So the rest of the movie is over in 2 minutes.
Yes, and hey, and you can say this. You know what? Charles Band and his production team, they usually try to keep things under 90 minutes. God bless him for that, right?
Yeah.
God bless him for that. I miss those days. I thought it was so weird when we started moving in the aughts, or really in the 2010s maybe, where every even action movie had to be almost 3 hours long. And by that time I was in my 40s. And I learned the hard way, don't get the large Diet Pepsi. But anyway, so Medusa kills the guy, their savior. Yeah. And so then Hungry Beast bursts through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man. And in something I completely don't understand, apparently he's got great sucking power. And so he starts to just suck Medusa and Susie and poor little Sherman, played by Chad Allen, down his gullet, and the movie ends.
Yeah.
The movie ends where every character, save Medusa's assistant and Hungry Beast, are dead.
Yeah, or something, because earlier on, the kid is like, they're talking to the sanitation guy, and he's like, your parents can come back, but as like tadpoles or something. He's like, they'll live in an aquarium.
They live in an aquarium.
I think they threw that line in to be like, oh no, Sherman's not dead. He'll be a tadpole or something. I don't know. It is, and like you said, it ends with a bap, 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 womp womp kind of ending, like a can you believe this? Which is such a strange choice.
Well, let me tell you what I read. This is what Ted Nicolaou had to say about it. Sure. Writer and director Ted Nicolaou, who I'll also throw this out for Joel, also was the editor of Ghoulies 2. So there you go.
There you go.
Ted Nicolaou said he wanted a quote-unquote bleak ending so it would be the most messed up movie of its kind. Now, I don't know about you, Jackson, but now when I think of bleak endings,
sure,
what comes to mind is The Mist, The Black Coat's Daughter,
right,
and TerrorVision.
Yeah, super bleak. I gotta be honest with you. I really feel like TerrorVision's ending would have been bleaker if I would have cared about any of the characters at all.
Well, that's what I wanted to go back to. That's what I wanted to ask you. Didn't basically, with maybe the exception of Sherman, didn't they all deserve to be eaten?
Kind of, yeah. Here's the thing. It's like you touched on Grandpa's prepper bunker earlier, which is pretty fun. That's pretty whimsical. Like I said, this house has so many rooms. It feels like that. What was that French movie where the kid was escaping from a killer Santa Claus in a house that had all these nooks and crannies? It has that kind of vibe to it. Where it's this big house with a bunch of rooms to hide in and a bunch of fun sets. But, I'm not totally sure about the Confederate flag down there in the bunker.
Yes.
It kind of limits our amount of sympathy for the grandpa.
Again, let me tell you something. As much as I would like to go back to the 80s for several reasons, one, MTV was worth watching. Mm-hmm. Two, we did not have cell phones, smartphones. People actually spoke to one another. Three, Republicans and Democrats weren't shooting each other. They were there, the good old days. You know what I'm saying? However, there was this weird thing that went along with the punk and metal and even hard rock movement, where for some reason they loved the Confederate flag. And I don't think it was a Dukes of Hazzard thing. I think it was a rebel thing. You know what I mean? Because Billy Idol,
I think is
from Sheffield, England.
Yeah.
Used to wear a Confederate flag. So it's what?
yeah.
But back then we just didn't think about it because it hadn't become, the movement hadn't started that we don't need to celebrate this anymore. Back then it was just well, that's our history. That happened.
Is this supposed to be set in the South though? This I know it was shot in Rome.
No,
but
there's no way that was set in the South. There's no way. There's no way this was set in the South. And so this feels to me like they think they keep talking about canyons and stuff. So I'm guessing it's out west. I'm pretty sure they set this in L.A., which is where, at that time Charles Band was located. I think he's moved since then, but but I think it's set in L.A., like a suburb of L.A., like Chatsworth or something like that. Some place like a good 30-minute drive from downtown Hollywood kind of thing. Back then, 30-minute drive. Now it's probably an hour and a half.
Sure, I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, but back when I lived there, it was 20, 30 minutes. But so I think it's set there. But no, the Confederate flag thing, that in the 80s, it was everywhere. And not just in like Hank Williams Jr. concerts, which I got dragged to a Hank Williams Jr. concert once. And there was I used to joke that I've never been in a room with so many outstanding warrants in my entire life. But at the Huntington Civic Center, where I've taken you to see concerts, not Hank Williams Jr., but I did take you to concerts there at Huntington Civic Center. We saw Rob Zombie there, right?
That's right. Well, Marilyn Manson and Rob Zombie, there were probably some outstanding warrants in that, including on stage.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. But yeah, that I understand all that. But yeah, I don't. What's funny to me is this obviously has a tone where it's obviously tongue in cheek. This is, and so when I read that quote from Ted Nicolaou, I wanted a bleak ending. I'm like, dude, this is a comedy. You know what I mean? This is like, okay, technically there are still vampires in Brooklyn at the end of Vampire in Brooklyn. Spoiler alert, though Retro Movie Geek has covered it, because Eddie's ghoul is now a vampire and he lives at the end. So, but I wouldn't call that a bleak ending just because some of the vampires lived. Do you know what I mean? It's not,
right.
Or even The Howling, where one of the werewolves are still alive when they're driving away. There's still 3 werewolves in the background. I wouldn't call that a bleak ending. The Mist is a bleak ending. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Bleak, it's like, dude, pick up a thesaurus.
Yeah, I think that was probably just an excuse. I get the impression that they ran out of money and were like, this is how it ends now. This is what we're doing. And again,
we bought Diane Franklin's ticket home, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we're just going to throw in front of a blue screen. We'll get her going, just waving her arms and going, whoa, and then figure something out. We'll do it in post, as they love to say. But yeah, and again, ending with like a Goosebumps ending where it's like, uh-oh, Hungry Beast is in the back of the car. Womp, 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 womp. It's such a classic like Charles Band move to pull that. But honestly, like you said, it's tongue in cheek. It's a lot of fun. It's 85 minutes. I think this is like an easy recommend.
Free on YouTube. Free on YouTube.
Technically free on YouTube. But I can't guarantee that it will be there in 2 months.
Can't guarantee it. But one of the channels that I watched it on, the Up All Night channel, it had been there for 4 years.
Well, there you go. Yeah, Full Moon and Empire aren't big on copyright because they.
I think Empire. It may be because Empire's defunct.
Yeah. That's fair.
So that may be. I think Empire collapsed and then he founded Full Moon. So I think because Empire's defunct, they're not going to go around looking to chase that, copyright and run it off YouTube. So, well, what else before we go to ratings?
I just, like I said, it's a fun time. One thing that I was thinking about is, as I was researching the Band family, there's, Alex Band also, Charles' son, is now a famous composer. If this had come out, a few years later, we could have had 3 generations of Band filmmakers on this film.
Which I do want to say, I didn't hate the music.
No, the music was good. It looks good. Like, the sets are obviously cheap, but it looks professional. I compared it to Troma at the beginning. It's a little higher brow than Troma, but it just has that vibe of like, all these are caricatures. They're all going to die, whatever. Yeah. It has that kind of irreverent, vibe to it. And the swingers feel very Troma, but it's a professionally made film. It's got that Corman thing of like, yeah, it's cheap. Yeah, it's rushed. Yeah, it's, I guess, made to capitalize on Videodrome. I don't know. Still, we're working on our theory about that. So we're going to have to workshop some stuff there.
I have no idea how there's only... The only way that this pitch goes through and this is greenlit, was after the poster and they accepted Ted Nicolaou's script was they were sharing a mirror and a straw, if you know what I'm saying. Let's just I think that's it.
Yeah. So tell me more about Hungry Beast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what are you going to rate this sucker?
I'm going to give TerrorVision a 6 out of 10, purely for enjoyment. And again, there are some actual, seriously competent things about it. But again, even at 85 minutes, it does tend to drag in some spots. So, come for the Hungry Beast, I guess. Stay for the Hungry Beast. I don't know. stay for Medusa. You gotta stay until the third act. And yeah, I would recommend, again, renting it or watching it for free on YouTube. And yeah, TerrorVision, fun time.
I'm right there with you. 6 out of 10. I say the same. If you're looking for a good time, this spooky season, for example, let's say that you're listening to this, you just got done watching like Martyrs or,
Sure.
Whatever. And,
Palate cleanser.
Yeah, this is a palate cleanser. Yeah. Pop some popcorn, throw this on YouTube and just have some fun and get all that other stuff out of your head.
I would say that this is a good one to put on the background at a party, but again, the Pleasure Dome. So I'm not really sure you can even do that. Again, I don't know who this is for, but I love it.
Yeah, I do too. So, buddy, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Kane_Hero12. That's KAINE_Hero12. And you can find my YouTube and my music and all that good stuff. And check out HMP 3.0.
Yeah, absolutely. So also on the Twitter, or X as they call it now, at Father Son Horror. And for our podcast, as well as Horror Movie Podcast, where we're dead serious about horror movies. And with horror fan Ryan and Brian Scott. And I want to thank Joel and Peter and Daryl and the gang for having us on for another Spooky Flix Fest. Always love doing this. Jay of the Dead says this is one of his favorite things about spooky season is Spooky Flix Fest. And Joel always does a great time. So thanks, Joel. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Daryl. Thanks, guys. So, and be sure to check out Mom and Pop Video Shop, where Joel's doing great work over there. And so, Jackson, say goodbye to the good people.
Goodbye, and remember to cancel your free trial of Medusa Plus if you haven't already. I got to remember to do that. I'll set an alarm.
Folks, thanks for listening. And remember, the family that watches horror together slays together. See ya.
Get all the spookiness you can handle this October by subscribing to Mom and Pop Video Shop on YouTube. You can also find Retro Movie Geek on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you dig up your podcasts. And remember, spooky is as spooky does.